How's it going, everyone? So I'm out here on my run with my dog Cody, and I'm noticing that a lot of stuff out here, when I live out in the country, deals with what we're talking about today in class. We're taking a look at different kinds of soil types, as well as examples of weathering and erosion. So while we're out on our run today, we're going to take a look at some science. All right, so Cody and I finally made it to the edge of our neighborhood, where we start actually getting into the countryside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him off the leash, and we're going to go take a look at all the different soils. Come here, Cody. Ready? Go. All right, one of the first soil types that we've noticed that actually Cody found here for us is actually big rock. Okay, as you can kind of tell, taking a look at the area around it, this rock has no reason to be here. So this rock was actually is an example of deposition. So actually humans, us, we actually picked up this rock from another location, and in a way we eroded it, and we've deposited it here in this new location. All right, so Cody found us a nice, what it looks like it used to be like a small creek or a small stream. It's all dried up right now. There's some really good examples of some weathering, erosion, and deposition. So let's take a closer look. All right, so what it looks like here is the water would run down, and you can kind of see the direction of all the roots kind of pushing through here. And it looks like it's broken down or weathered away from the top and has come down here, and you see this kind of what looks like going to be like a small version of a canyon. And the very bottom here, you'll see smaller particles of soil that more than likely look like they came from way up here. Okay, now if we take a look here, all the particles are pretty much made of this dry dirt, while our rocks are fairly large and only some of them are weathered. So again, so this soil is a lot easier for us to weather and erode and deposit than, say, some of the rocks. Okay, now let me get a closer look at the rocks, and let's see what kind of observations we can make about the size and the shape. So, taking a look at some of the rocks, we notice that they're all about kind of fairly large size to smaller size, but the big things we notice that they're a lot smoother. Okay, that's because as the water runs through this area, the water runs over the rock and weathers it down. Okay, so it actually makes it nice and smooth, and we actually start getting these smaller pieces of rock being broken down and eroded, so they're actually traveling farther down the stream that way. Let's see what else Cody can find for us. All right, so walking away from that small stream, we're now down this little trail. We're starting to see that there's actually a large stream bed that actually feeds into that small area that we just saw right now. Let me flip the camera around. That way we can see what I'm talking about. And I want you guys to look at the way the banks are. That means the sides. Okay, so I have here, now we have two different soil types, and you can distinctly see the difference between the two right now. On the right side, we have a lot more of that real large rock. It's really compact, it's really pushed in tight, and it's really dry. Now, if we look over here, we have this clay, and the clay, even though it's a little dry, it's actually still got a lot of parts that are still wet. So I put my hand in it, And there we go. That's like good clay. Okay. This is what Native Americans used to use to make different kinds of pottery and homes and stuff like that. Now, this area is still very, very wet. While this area over here, only a matter of about 2-3 feet, is really, really dry. So this is where we see how different soil types absorb different amounts of water. Now, right here, you'll see it's really, really moist, but just a couple inches away, we get it where it's very, very dry. And with clay, you know that it's very, very dry because you get these serious cracks. And you may see this on some people's lawns and stuff like that. If you haven't rained for a while, we don't water, we see the lawns get these really big cracks in it. Now, this is a big deal because San Antonio actually is a large amount of clay. So a lot of our land is actually made up of this right here, where it's going to be really sludgy, it holds on to water, and when it's really dry, it starts cracking and it moves around a lot. Where in this case over here, we have a lot of rock, real dense rock, and a lot of the particles, if they are small, they're fine like this, but the majority of the particles are much larger and easier compact. See how it's easy? It's a lot harder for me to dig pieces up. So this part's been real compacted, and the particles are much larger, with the exception of the fine dust, in comparison to the clay just a couple feet away. All right, so the different soil types do a bunch of different types of things. One of which, like we have here, we have that clay, it holds onto that water, and not necessarily just holds onto that water, but it kind of doesn't let it seep through. It doesn't absorb it very well, so it kind of just sticks around. Now, that could do several things. One, we could have a flood, or two, I don't know if you can see it, we have a lot of little insects here, and if we have standing water, just like this one right here, we end up with a lot of mosquitoes. A lot of you might be asking, Mr. Rod, why do we need to know about different types of soils and, their properties? Well, the main reason for it is actually this right here. A big slab of concrete. And actually this giant slab of concrete is what we call a foundation. The main reason why we want to know about soil types is so that way when we build our buildings, we're making sure that they're going to last. Okay, they're not going to, we're going to put them on a type of soil that's going to flood, or we're going to put it on a type of soil that has it sink or twist or anything like that. Additional reason to know why we need to know about different types of soil types is for plants. We don't do it much here in San Antonio, but if you have different kinds of farms or something like that, or maybe you have someone in your family that likes to do some kind of gardening. All right, so we want to know about the different kinds of soils to help us make better choices about our homes, our businesses, as well as any kind of agriculture or plant life. Cody and I made it back to our neighborhood. We're wrapping up our run/walk, but I hope that you were able to get something out of those few examples that we saw out there in the countryside. But I challenge you to go and take a look at your schools and take a look at your homes and take a look at the soil that's located around it. Is it the best type of soil? And to kind of also analyze what happens when it rains a lot. Does it flood or does it stay dry? All right, till next time.